I'm John Mahoney, and I'm coordinator of jazz studies at Loyola University in New Orleans. I studied music education and got my bachelor's degree from SUNY Potsdam, State University, New York. And then a few years later, I went back to school at Eastman School of Music in Rochester and got my master's in jazz and contemporary media with an emphasis in writing. I was very fortunate to have great teachers as I was coming up. I started studying music in the 6th grade, and in that town of Messina, New York, which is near Canada, they had band teachers in the elementary school. A great jazz player was the band director in the junior high school, and then the band director in the high school was about to retire, but he waited to retire till a few years after I graduated, and so he had all that experience. He actually took me on my first dance band job. He played a little dance band. So even in high school, I joined the Musicians Union and started playing gigs, and I think it was largely that, and my parents really loved music, so there was recordings that I heard around the house.
What's your instrument, and who are your heroes on that instrument?
I'm trained as a trombonist, and I also play piano. And of course, being a trombonist, J.J. Johnson is one of my big heroes. And piano, actually, I think Bill Evans is probably my biggest hero, although I listen to all of them. I'm really fond of some of the contemporary arrangers, composers such as Bob Brookmeyer, Maria Schneider, Jim McNeely, but I also love the older vintage of those things: Thad Jones, Quincy Jones, Don Sebesky, the Stan Kenton Band, all the writers for that, the Woody Herman Band, all the writers for that. Duke Ellington, that crew, Basie Band. We're trying to prepare them for a lot of things because you never know what to expect when you get out of school, what you're going to end up doing. A lot of students have an idea what they want to do, but that necessarily doesn't end up what they are doing. So we have big bands where we work on big band music, and of course a big emphasis there is on reading, being able to be prepared to be able to read so you can play a show or that kind of work. We have combos where the emphasis is on small group arranging, more improvisation roles there. We have improvisation classes. We have composition and arranging classes. And we have a history class where we teach the history of jazz, which is important to have a perspective. To some extent. I think it may be changing, and some kids are just going to bypass jazz because it's too complicated and hard to get, and they want something more in the pop realm. But because there are so many excellent jazz education programs in various high schools and so forth, we are getting a lot of kids that are actually well prepared and want to just continue with that. And I think the attraction is the fact that it's such a creative music, and also maybe the difficulty of it. It's creative, but boy, I have to learn a lot to get to the point where I can really be creative. Hopefully so, because definitely the discipline that is required And jazz, a lot of it is you just teach yourself. I mean, your teachers guide you, but you have to do all the work, the homework, and the practice and stuff. You have to figure out how to do that in an orderly kind of fashion. So it's an organizational and disciplinary kind of thing that is definitely life skill stuff. I mean, it'd be hard to pick them all out. I've heard so many great performances in my life. My dad took me to hear the Basie Band when I was still in high school. That was definitely transforming, and heard them in a little club, not in a big concert hall or anything. So that was very mind-boggling. I heard the Thad Jones, Mel Lewis Band, now the Vanguard Band, many times. It's always been an uplifting thing. I heard Mel Lewis play with that band for the last time when they came to New Orleans in 2000. That was pretty amazing. That's just to mention a few. I still love going to hear the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra, and they're just an amazing group. The nerves are definitely a hard thing to control when you're auditioning. I still don't like to audition myself. Get some experience doing that. Go audition maybe at a school that you don't have your heart so set on going to. Maybe go there first just to experience the nervousness. Come well prepared. When we hear auditions, sometimes we go, wow, that was great. They really had that together. And other times we go, I don't think they really worked at that. You know, you can really tell. And that's saying a lot of how important you think it is if you're well prepared. So be well prepared, and if your nerves get the best of you, well, we may still see the inkling that you've got talent. Find out what it is that you want, that they want to hear. Like when you come here, we are a small jazz department. We're not interested so much in your fusion playing. We want to hear what kind of straight ahead jazz you do, because that's our focus here. Invitation is to all high school groups and junior high school, middle school groups throughout the country, if you can come to New Orleans. We have a panel of 4 outstanding judges who are going to listen to your band and give you positive feedback, constructive criticism. One of those judges is going to take you to another room and actually give you a clinic right after you play. Our guest artist, this year it's going to be Nicholas Payton on trumpet, but every year we have a guest artist, and that artist and the Loyola jazz faculty put on master classes both days of our festival, so you'll be able to sit in on a master class of your instrument and pick up some pointers there. And then we have 2 live concerts presented during the festival, one of the faculty, Loyola faculty group, and one of the Loyola Jazz Band, which is a great student big band, with the guest artist as the featured soloist. Well, I have a couple things on my computer. Right now I'm having a little trouble finding enough time to really spend on it, but I whittle away at it when I have time. My chief creative outlet is to write big band music for a big band, and I have a big band of professional musicians here in New Orleans that performs my music once a month or so. And we're actually gearing up for the Jazz Educators Network conference, which is in January. We're going to play at that. So we're trying to get a couple performances and get geared up for that. We're hoping that it just gets better and better. It seems like we're actually being able to be more and more choosy about who we accept into our program. So the quality of students that are finding our program, wanting to come to New Orleans and study, and seeing the good balance we have in our music college here at Loyola is an attraction. So we're hoping just to kind of raise our standards and make everything better. Our improv course is more rigorous, our combos more fun and interesting to play in. Big band has really kind of come a long way in the last few years. So I would say that's that, and the fact that that the Thelonious Monk Jazz Institute is in our building, and students get to interact with them and the master teachers that they bring in, creates a really wonderful atmosphere of learning here for jazz. Oh, quite a few. Early on, Antonio Garcia was here. He's in charge of the Jazz Studies program at Virginia Commonwealth University. Chuck Bergeron is now a full-time teacher at Miami Frost Institute, I think it's called. Tenor player Rick Margitza is doing quite well. He's living in France half the year and doing well. Stanton Moore, great drummer and band leader. Mark Mullins has a great kind of rock jazz trombone group called Bonorama. I don't know, there's a lot of them, but those are a few I could mention. One thing I can say to them is my own parents were very supportive of me going into music. I never heard them say, well, how are you going to make a living doing that, you know? And I did manage to make a living, a comfortable living. So if you really apply yourself and learn all you can in a good music program at a good college, you have a lot of opportunities in the music world. On the other hand, if you're not really serious about it, or it's just kind of something that's fun for you to do, it may well be a good move to maybe keep playing music recreationally, but to do something else as far as your focus on a degree program. The composing usually starts at the piano. Since I was in high school, I've just found that sitting at the piano at certain times, I can just kind of lose it there. And usually, not always, but usually there'll be a little spark that if I'm smart enough, I'll stop and I'll jot something down on music paper. And that's what it takes. It takes that beginning spark to get going. Arranging, it can be just you know, playing a tune and, oh, that would be cool on that tune, and then so it starts your kind of train of thought of how can I make this tune special to me in an arrangement. Composition, you're starting with nothing, so, or you're starting with what you have in your head, but trying to figure out some new angle with that. A lot of it I'm writing melody and bass line horizontally, at least for a time, and then I start filling in some of the blanks horizontally. If I hear something needs to be voiced out, and you know, the spark has kind of stopped for where I'm going to go next anyhow. I'll stop and work out the details of the horizontal stuff. But you know, what the chords are, what the bass line is, what the melody is kind of what drives me forward. Right now I write mostly with finale, so editing is so much easier than it used to be. So you're more inclined to, oh, let me try this, you know. Save that and try it in a different way, and so it's good. I know some lyrics because I've listened to singers. I had, for about 6 years of my life, I lived around Singer and doing music on the road and stuff and arranging for Singer and so forth. So I learned a lot of lyrics that way. And then I had certain records that I really like. Sarah Vaughan was one of my favorite singers, and so I've heard a lot of her songs over and over again. So I do know some lyrics, but not all. You know, kind of the gist of the title and a few of the lines usually stick in my head. Somewhat. I mean, I think harmonically a lot because of all the arranging I do. So I'm always interested in the colorful notes that I can play against the harmony. I think that's kind of my approach. Is like, this would be a nice note to lay on because of its color, and I, you know, build my solo around those various colorful notes. Well, I've done a little bit of transcribing of writing, and done quite a lot of transcribing of solos, especially trombone solos.
You think that's an important skill to have as a jazz player?
I think so, because there's no way to really teach the language of the music without sitting down and listening and copying how somebody has used the language. And so if you're going to be a trombone player, you got to look at JJ and various trombone players and say, well, that's really cool how they use the language. And you can go back and analyze it theoretically, but the theory doesn't get you the language. The language is how it's put together by great players.